it just keeps on getting better and better for UFC fans right now. This is honestly sensational. The fight announcements that Dana White just dropped on us last night, and it's time to react to it. Coming to the Big Apple, we got a bunch of really cool fights. This MSG card is honestly way better than the last one. In the last one, we had John Jones and Stipe, a fight that honestly should have never happened. It should have just been John versus Tom. And then you had Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. This is a real MSG card, what we're about to go through. These fights right here are all amazing fights. And I honestly, I was hearing a couple of crazy rumors, which obviously wasn't the case then, but that they were going to have Islam and JDM and Topuria versus Gaethje in the MSG. So that was rumors that were kind of floating around. But anyways, let's just get into not the what ifs, but what has actually been announced. It's officially announced. Islam Makhachev is taking on Jack Della Maddalena at MSG in November. And by the way, I'm from New York, so honestly, this is a crazy card. I hope that I could be able to go to this card. This is insane. Islam Makhachev, one of the biggest stars that we have in the sport, most dominant lightweight champion ever, made the move to welterweight, a stacked welterweight division to take on Jack Della Maddalena. This would be Jack Della Maddalena's first title defense. And listen, this is a very competitive fight. A few years ago, I mean, we could have maybe said that like if Islam made a move like this, he's beating anyone. But now, especially with Jack Della Maddalena and the kind of performance he had versus Belal, because I'll be completely honest, I thought Belal, that was going to be an easier fight for Belal when they announced that Jack Della Maddalena would step in the place of Shavkat. But Jack Della Maddalena lit Belal up in the boxing. He had great cardio. He just stellar performance by Jack Della Maddalena in that fight. And also the specifics training with Craig Jones, the takedown defense. Belal did not have his way, did not have an easy time with Jack Della Maddalena. Jack Della Maddalena is crisp with his boxing, super well-rounded fighter. Also, he's not the most talked about guy, right? He's super like under the radar, calm, cool, like doesn't trash talk too much, but sends like a couple shots to Ian Gary. Jack Della Maddalena has been like a fantastic like fighter, and he's been undefeated so far in his UFC run. And in his first title defense, he's taken on a guy who's literally trying to become the greatest to ever do it, Islam Makhachev, greatest lightweight resume for sure. I mean, Islam did kind of have a really easy time in his last fight, supposed to be Arman. And by the way, I'm really surprised they did not announce an Arman fight. I really thought they were going to announce Arman versus Paddy on like Abu Dhabi or something. Or Arman versus Hooker. No Arman Sarukian announcement yet, which kind of was a little disappointing. But again, Islam was supposed to fight Arman in January. Arman pulled out. That was definitely one of the most anticipated fights to never happen. And then Islam ended up getting Renato Moicano. So Renato Moicano, he ended up submitting in the first round. And that was kind of just an easier, but Islam has his hands full with this fight. Like, this is a super high level fight, obviously going up the weight class versus Jack Della Maddalena, who at any given time could really like connect on Islam Makhachev and put his lights out. And I mean, it's so hard to pick against Islam for the way that he is with his grappling and his wrestling. But Jack Della Maddalena, honestly, I feel Jack Della Maddalena right now, he could very well do it. He could very well beat Islam Makhachev. Like, if he could keep it on the feet, if he could do the same thing he did with Belal, get back up on his feet, excellent takedown defense, and keep it to the boxing, Islam cannot hang with Jack Della Maddalena's striking. Jack Della Maddalena is younger, hungrier, faster than like a Dustin Poirier. And Dustin Poirier was giving Islam Makhachev some problems in the striking. Dustin Poirier lasted like 4 rounds with the guy. So Jack Della Maddalena is just the upgraded version of that. And he's in his prime right now. And yeah, this is going to be an amazing high level, one of the biggest fights this year in MSG. So this is amazing. Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. Incredible. Now, Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko. This is as close of a super fight as it gets in women's MMA. You want a women's MMA super fight? This is it right here. Zhang Weili, who's been the dominant strawweight champion for really some time now. I think she's a 2-time strawweight champion. And then you have Valentina Shevchenko. Could be wrong about that, but Valentina Shevchenko, who won her belt recently versus Alessa Grasso and beat Manon Fiorot, I think, also. So Zhang Weili is vacating her strawweight belt and moving up a division to give us the super fight between her and Valentina Shevchenko. Really the only two prominent women's champions that we've had in UFC MMA history. Valentina Shevchenko has been around forever. If there was any time to do it, it was definitely now, and I'm so happy the UFC did it because, sure, it's a women's co-main event, but still, it's the highest level women's mixed martial arts fight you can make right now in the world between the two most dominant champions who have been just racking up title defense in their divisions. This was the time to do it. This is honestly an incredible main event. I'm looking forward to this. Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili, that's a women's super fight. So this is going to be incredible. Honestly, I'm not even trying to pick right now like who I think is going to win this. Just amazing fight between Zhang Weili and Valentina Shevchenko. And then because of a result of that, the vacated strawweight belt is going to be up for grabs with Vernon Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern at UFC Abu Dhabi in 321. And that is a co-main event under the Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane, which honestly, I don't know how I feel about that. To be honest, I don't really care about this fight, honestly. Like the last fight is sick. This is a sick women's fight. This I don't really care about. So that's that. And then third fight on the UFC 322 card in MSG. Prates was calling for Leon in Rio, but then he got Leon. But it's happening in Madison Square Garden. And yeah, quick turnaround for Prates, which is amazing. This guy has been trying to stay super active. 5 fights in the UFC. I think 4 out of his 5, all vicious knockouts. Obviously, most recently coming off the knockout versus Jeff Neal at UFC 319. And guys, I think this is it for Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards is about to go on a generational downfall. I think he's about to get clipped by Carlos Prates. If Carlos Prates can finish Leon Edwards in MSG, he's going to explode to a whole new level of star power. Carlos Prates, and this is his first real highly ranked fighter. Leon Edwards is still ranked number 4. Leon Edwards got dominated by Bilal, got dominated by Sean Brady, all the heavy wrestlers, grapplers, but finally he has a style, a guy who's going to definitely just strike with him. But the creative striking of Carlos Prates, who literally barely, dude's just playing around out there sometimes, and he's just touching guys, and they're going to sleep. It barely even looked like he connected with Neil Magny, and he still put him on the floor. And then to do what he did to Jeff Neal in the final second, look at Hunter Campbell's face in the background there. Yeah, that's how I was reacting when Carlos Prates bounced back. Sure, Leon Edwards might be able to do what Ian Gary did, a good old striking, dancing battle on Carlos Prates, but Leon Edwards isn't going to look to grapple too much with and hug Carlos Prates like Ian Gary likes to hug. This is going to be a fun, striking fight as the featured fight of UFC 322, and I think Prates is clipping Leon, putting him to sleep. That's it. After what Carlos Prates just did to Jeff Neal, looked super clean in that first round, really looked like he was going to get it anyways, and then the spinning elbow. He's about to do something crazy. Carlos Prates is about to go on a whole new level, about to smoke another post-fight cigarette. This is going to be amazing. In MSG, Carlos Prates, I really got to get to this. Carlos Prates, one of my favorite fighters. So this is a phenomenal featured fight. And then finally we have Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Batista announced for UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. Also, rumors about this fight happening in Vancouver, but this makes a lot more sense to just happen in Abu Dhabi. Umar looking to bounce back after his loss versus Merab. And honestly, right now, Umar was the closest fight that Merab's had. He lasted all 5 rounds and gave him a competitive fight. And then he, I guess, broke his hand in that fight. So he finally recovered, and now he's taking on Mario Batista. Very high-level bantamweight fight. Mario Batista has been on a streak lately, although... yeah, Mario Batista, one of the most hated fighters in the UFC, just his smudge wrestling style. But he actually gave kind of more of a... he really tried to give it a more of a entertaining performance versus Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix definitely didn't really deserve a fight like that. And Mario Batista just danced on him. And before that, of course, he did his grappling, heavy, smudge wrestling, anticlimactic style versus Jose Aldo. This is a great fight for both men. Mario Batista to really prove if he's ready to be in that top echelon of the bantamweight division. And for Umar, this is a great test to really bounce back a guy who's on a very big win streak and is supposedly more of that wrestling grappling style. See, this is good because they're both stylistically they use that grappling wrestling. So finally, we're giving Mario Batista somebody who's going to engage in him with that grappling and that wrestling, like an Umar, who's literally coached in under the same roof as a Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev. So Umar has all the tools and skill set to really give Mario Batista, when you look at both guys, I mean, obviously Umar seems like the more high-level guy. Umar kind of jumped the ranks very quickly, got Corey Sandhagen, beat him, then got his title shot versus Merab, and then ultimately lost, but gave Merab one of the closest fights Merab's ever had. So this is a fantastic fight as well to put in Abu Dhabi, and I'm going to go with Umar. Honestly, I don't mind Umar. I know some people maybe don't like the Dagestan fighters and stuff because boring styles, this, that. But in this situation, I got to go for Umar, and I think, honestly, he will get the win versus Mario Batista, and I just don't like Mario Batista. So, yeah, guys, those are the fight announcements for that Dana White just dropped on us last night. A whole bunch in the Big Apple, a couple more added to Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi's looking actually really good of a card, even though the co-main event, I mean, Suragan, Tom Aspinall, this fight. And then you got Rakic and Burzakhanov and Volkov versus Almeida. So, yeah, that's October is a crazy month. And then going into November, more fights to be announced at MSG. We're finally getting a proper MSG card, and I'm really hyped for it. And I hope to actually be there in attendance. It would be my very first UFC event ever to go to live if I could get over there. So, yeah. And then we got UFC Paris next week. Stay tuned on that. Until next time.